growth comes off the charts. The most growth, like the most momentum you're gonna get is when you coming back off of doing some deep work off the charts, some self-realization, some self-discovery. Now you got a better mental clarity. You can execute better. I promise you.
I ain't perfect, but I'm striving. I'm striving. Men switch and women change, but God don't. I can't stay the same, I'm doing what God want. Forgive me for some things, break me out these chains, protect me with your flames, and hopefully I remain in your grace, your grace, your grace, your grace. In the past I done made mistakes, but I repented and changed my ways. Men switch and women change, but God don't. I can't stay the same, I'm doing what God wants. Forgive me for some things, break me out these chains, protect me with your flames, and hopefully I remain.
Welcome back to another video. Hopefully I can provide y'all with some valuable, insightful information that you can take and use in your trade, man. So become profitable ultimately. No, I'm not talking about a strategy as far as technicals. I'm talking about something that's not really focused on at all in this retail space of trading. Perhaps maybe even in life in general. Everybody knows what IQ stands for, right? It's a measure of, your intellectual intelligence. And we all know about IQ because it's a household term. We know about it through school, through social conditioning, right? But I bet you didn't know, because I didn't know, that there are multiple measures of intelligence. Now, of course, it's common sense, but didn't actually know that there were terms for it, right? So it's actually multiple, but we're gonna focus on EQ, which stands for emotional intelligence, and we're gonna focus on IQ and how they both relate to trade. Now again, it's multiple measures of intelligence, right? Some of them less popular than others, right? But if I had to go off the ones that people might know the most, physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, which is IQ, and then spiritual intelligence, social. Well, those might not be as popular. And then a lot of them, they could mean the same, so you can dense them down. But basically, it's multiple measures of intelligence. When people think about trade, most traders think about IQ, 80%, right? Majority come to trade, and probably 100% actually think it's all IQ in the beginning. 100%, I'm pretty sure thinks it's all IQ in the beginning, but the ones who remain and then they continue on, and the ones who go on to be profitable, they translate, or not translate, they revert or switch over from IQ to EQ, right? Because you got to understand one thing in trading. IQ is going to seem like most of the time, because what does IQ translate first? What does that translate to in trade? Let's go down here. All right, let's get straight to it, right? So in trade, that's basically the charts, the analytical side. That's what you see everybody pushing on YouTube. And before we really get deep into this video, I'm not going to hit on every single point. I'm going to go over some of them, right? But you can pause the video at any time and you can go over these points. Okay, why IQ seems important in trading, more important than it really is. It's something you can measure immediately. That's what I was just saying. Win rates matter, right? A win rate reduces losses. It builds confidence, right? It makes it easier for you to trust your strategy. Once you start to experience too many losses, you start to, is my strategy still working? So you need the illusion of winning a lot to trust your system. You don't really trust the system, to be honest. long as it gets you a certain win rate, you more so trust the number. Soon as you fall out of the range of that number, then your emotions start to fluctuate more. As long as you stay within that range, you're confident. And that's my point. Like, that doesn't translate to success in trading, because when you're not confident, you make self-sabotaging mistakes. Let's keep going. I don't want to get too stuck. But back testing, right? This is all things that's basically in trading that translate to IQ, okay? Technical skills. Strategy gives a sense of control, right? Building and refining the system. Okay, that's all IQ. You build, and it's actually what you need. Don't get me wrong, you do need this stuff. It is important. Okay, but once you get done reading this, and we go over here, okay, we go to emotional intelligence. Okay, and we're gonna start right here. Sticking to the trading plan without second guessing, controlling fear, doing drawdowns, right? Avoiding greed, not over leveraging, not feeling the pressure to over leverage just because you're in a losing streak, right? That's a scenario. Managing stress, doing volatile markets, right? Etc. etc. EQ in trade is the emotional side, right? That's basically what we've been going over. Win rate doesn't matter without discipline, right? It's just a number on paper if you can't execute. A trader knows that without sticking to their plan, win rate is meaningless. Even a great strategy falls, or fails, I should say, if emotions lead to impulsive decisions, right? Execution is everything. I just said that. Emotions can ruin logic, right? Why do you have moments where maybe you angry, said something that you shouldn't have, said something that you didn't particularly agree with, maybe you said how you felt, but you wanted to word it differently. I should have worded it differently, right? That happens to everybody. That's a measure of your emotional intelligence. How do you react under pressure? Because a person made you mad, are you still emotionally intelligent enough to be able to be like, okay, hey, I'm not going to let myself get to this point, or let this person, right, get this type of energy out of me, because I understand what this scenario is. It's all a misunderstanding, and it ain't really worth my time. Whatever you say, basically, to not succumb to the impulsive emotional decision that basically is really the first thing that comes to your mind. And we do that by nature, reactive. But emotional control, emotional intelligence is not being reactive, right? But trading is a mental game. That's what I'm talking about. Markets are uncertain. They full of ups and downs. EQ helps you stay calm. It helps you adapt. It helps you persevere through losses, drawdowns, even winning streaks, right? Because you can be in a winning streak and you can become reckless, become too confident. Now you're over leveraging. You have to be aware enough to be like, okay, am I rushing this setup because of those last string of wins I had? Am I taking less confirmation with this one? Am I being as deep as I was, or as analytical as I was with my other ones? Right? You gotta still do that even when you're winning. You still gotta be aware, because confidence, right, that's an emotion as well, and you can't control your emotions. I mean, you can't not control. I mean, you can't get rid of them, right? You can't get rid of them, but you can manage them. You can understand them. If you understand them, then you know how to manage them better, and that's my whole point, right? So basically, I ain't gonna go into these because I'm pretty sure I just basically went over it as I'm talking, but y'all can pause, like I say, and y'all can go over it yourselves. So this right here, that all sounds good, okay? That all sounds good. EQ, I say it's more important. I'm not gonna read this either, but y'all can pause it because I want to get to the actionable steps that you can take. Okay. Now, it's easy to say that IQ doesn't matter as much as EQ, or you gotta just basically focus on psychology, because that's really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about psychology. Here you go, another guy that's talking about psychology. Listen, at the end of the day, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Your performance. Trading is a performance-based thing. Understand that. And just like people in performance sports, they gotta make sure their mental is right. They gotta make sure they operating at a high level all the time. Trading is not something that you can just show up and half-ass it, or just put a lot of time into it, but the quality of time, you know what I'm saying, is not there. That's not what this is. Okay? It's not what this is. And you're gonna have to put in some real work to obtain that vision, that idea of success that you have in your mind. You're gonna have to put in some work to get it. Let's continue on. I'm pretty sure y'all done paused and y'all done read this by now, right? So this is another thing, IQ. Many people know how to analyze the market, right? That's why we have so many market analysts. Okay, they can make educated assumptions about the market, but oftentimes they cannot place the trades real time, right? So this is the thing. They're oftentimes correct enough to be profitable on paper. But here's the catch. They can't execute in real time. Why? Because execution requires emotional discipline. And that's the difference. You can have IQ, but you gotta have both. You gotta have both, really. Now, moving over here, because I want to get into the actionable steps that you can take, right? And at the end, it's really the main one, because it all comes down to beliefs. It all comes down to core beliefs at the end of the day. But we're going to go over some actionable steps right here that you can do. I done read a lot of books. I done read a lot of stuff. So this is where I get majority of this stuff from, okay? But recognize your mental state. I got this from a game called The Mental Game of Trading. I think that's what it was. So understanding your mental game, okay, is just as critical as understanding your trading setups. Just as setups are put into a category A plus, A, B, right? You need to put your mental state into a category. You need to start to understand what type of things do you do in each mental state, right? Once you start to build awareness of what you do in each mental state, and then you can basically build a workaround if need be. The only one you will want to work around the most really is C. That's where you will focus the most on. Instead, people focus too much on the A. And that's what I'm saying. A setups, they focus on trying to get the best strategy. All IQ related stuff that they think is going to translate the trade, no. Focus on your C game. Why? Because say you do got a 80% win rate, for example. Okay, cool. You winning. You've been winning for 3 months. And then you finally come upon a losing streak that realistically would have only lasted 2 to 3 weeks. But that's not normal for you. That's not normal, because you don't never lose no more than, hey, 2-3 days. You might have that's on a bad week. Normally you only losing 1 day, 2 days a week. Like, okay, cool. So, but you losing you done lost 2-3 weeks. Now, if you got all of this A game that then brought you all of this profit at this point, now when you start to come into these market turbulent times, your C game start to come into effect. Now you stressed. Now you're more likely to make impulsive decisions, or you preoccupied with personal issues. Everything is just seem off at this point. You having problems at home. You're like, my relationship off at this point. It's because that's where your focus is at now. You can notice that you in the C game, and then you can take a step. You can take a step back, or you can choose a trade, but understand with this awareness of where you at mentally, and be like, okay, if I do take a trade, I'm only gonna risk this amount. I'm not gonna risk what I normally risk. I'm gonna risk only 25% of what I normally risk. So if I normally risk 1,000, I'm only gonna risk 250. And that's until I get back into a mental state where I'm feeling confident, where I'm feeling focused, and where I'm feeling emotionally detached, right? If you understand that, that makes all the difference between a person who gonna continue to trade. Most people don't even take note of stuff like this. Most people who watching this video it's probably gonna be a first for them. right? Because a lot of times people talk about psychology, but what type of actionable steps can you take? It's not just a keyword psychology, no. It's something that you actually need to focus on, and these are actionable steps. So this right here is a real good one, right? Jotting down your mental notes, okay? Now, you see right here, these are basically just basic points that you can have. Basically, when you start the trade, you're going to have actual experiences that's more unique that you can put right here in your A game, right? Like, so for me, like, you might be like, okay, when I experience four losers in a row, I start to become impatient or I start to become antsy, right? So if you take note of that in your C game and you just putting that down, and then you put something else down that you notice that happens when you're in your C game, because you're only gonna notice stuff through experience and time. That's why it's so important that as it's happening, you jot it down. Many traders, as the stuff happening, they not writing nothing down. They just going to the next day, right? So my point is, you need to journal this stuff so that you can come back and review. Because if you putting this stuff down, then okay, you can put something into place to negate that. Okay, so if you start to get anxious after 4 losers in a row, right? Then just say, okay, I'm gonna lower my risk. And you also got that point in mind that, okay, this is a part of my C game. So I could be operating in my C game. What could that do? That could mean that, hey, maybe because you're in your C game, you're more fearful. So because you know that you're more fearful, you make it a point to be like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I still execute on my trades. I'm not gonna let my emotions hold me back. I got my risk down, but I'm also going to basically be aware that the mental state I'm in affects my performance, okay? But if you are aware, then you can potentially bump your C game up to the B game, all the way up to the A game. And the whole goal is to basically keep improving, of course. Keep improving, adding stuff to your A game, but also improve your C game. Because what I would tell you all is that it was a point where stuff I was doing in my C game would have blown my account, okay? But as of today, the stuff I would do in my C game would never blow my account. It's just a little, maybe I risk a little bit too much, or maybe I enter too aggressive or something like that. Like, it's all still C game mistakes, but they don't impact me as much as they did back in the day. So the whole game is to improve on all of your games, not just the A game, but focus on your C game to improve this. Because then if you're going through a down period, guess what? Your C game is not going to hold you back. If a person, going back to their main point, they got an 80% win rate, guess what? They're going to blow their account. All of that progress gone. Why? Because they didn't work on the C game. They didn't work on the weak end. You only as strong as the weakest link, right? So you got to work on your weak points as well. Improve those. So to identify and address root causes, okay? The why exercise. Now, I went through this in another video, so I'm not going to really go over this one too much, but I'll link the video up here somewhere. I'll put it in there that y'all can go to that as reference, or it'll just be down in the description or at the end of the video. But I guess I'll go over these little points, right? So basically it's just constantly asking why. So I need to make money today. Why? Because it gets me closer to what I want. Why? Why is this important? Because I want to prove people wrong and feel valuable. Why do I need to prove myself to others? That's the question, okay? Because I tie my self-worth to how I see others, okay? So the key insight is the issue isn't about making money, it's about self-worth. So you got to go deeper, right? And the reason I'm not going to go too deep in this is because I'm kind of going to go into the key point that encompasses all of this, basically, right? And we got to get to that key point. Because I put quite a few on here that you can do. Because I want y'all to have actionable steps. I just want to make a video, talk about psychology, and you don't actually leave with something that you can implement, right? So, number 3, focus on mental recovery and resilience. Okay? Stress, stress, losing streaks, or personal challenges can put you in a C game state. To avoid self-sabotage, prioritize recovery and resilience, right? Create a recovery plan. Step away from trading during high stress periods. All of these are contingencies. I said that again on one of my videos on this channel, a contingency plan. If you have contingency plans all throughout your trade, you gonna Always keep a calm mind. Why? Because you always prepared for multiple things to go down. That's all it is. Making sure that you keeping a calm mind to do what? To make a good decision. That's it. Because if you're not calm, then your decision is not going to be as good. And trading is hard enough as is. So you need to make sure the decisions you're making are actual good decisions with good analytics behind it and good narrative and good reasoning for why you finna do and execute, pull the trigger on the setup that you about to do, right? Okay, let's go. I don't go over every point, but you can pause again. Okay, build awareness of probabilities and mental states. All right. What is my current emotional setup? I'm not gonna really go into that. Actually, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, and we just gonna go into the conclusion because y'all can pause and I'll let y'all go over there because I want to get to this main one. Okay, that, like I say, encompasses all of this, because this all comes down to self-awareness, core beliefs. Because how do you do it? Right? At times, it's not as easy to get rid of a belief, which we're gonna go into, but taking actionable steps to improve your EQ involves self-awareness, recovery practices, addressing root beliefs, replacing reactive habits with proactive systems, right? Your mental A game determines how well you execute your trade knowledge. Without it, even the best strategies can fail. Consistently work on these steps and you will build the emotional resilience needed for long-term success. Okay, now, what I say, steps you can take, boom. This is the main one that I want to focus on. Okay, now, this right here came from Van Tharp. He done passed away, man. And I'm really thankful to that guy because he made that book and I read that book. And there's really a bunch of stories in there of just his experiences. He was blessed and fortunate to just be around other traders who operated a top tier level, and he was able to pick their brain and just learn stuff. And also he had a PhD in psychology, a lot of stuff behind his work, right? But one of the things he talked about the most was that how psychology mattered, okay? Like the stuff outside of trade. And also just about how people have core beliefs and how you really have to get to the bottom of them. Like some people, they go on a spiritual journey. I'm not saying that you're going to have to go on a spiritual journey, but sometimes people do go on a spiritual journey because we all come to trade for a variety of reasons, but it's all common reasons at the same time, right? I want freedom, I want this, but at the end, it's all attached to some type of worldly thing that we are in pursuit of when it comes to trade, right? And the thing is, you gotta detach most of the time. Like you're gonna have to. Not saying that you can't still want the things and enjoy them, but you're gonna have to detach to a level where you can operate without these beliefs interfering. Okay, and that's what we're basically about to get into, right? The parts of ourselves, how beliefs shape trading behavior. Okay, understanding the origin, like of parts / beliefs. So we all got many of them. We got many of them, a perfectionist part, a greedy part, etc., etc. But over our lives, we develop parts, okay? Patterns, beliefs, coping mechanisms. And it's all based on our experiences. They formed in childhood, and some are formed in childhood to protect us from pain or to win approval, right? Example, a child's parents demanded perfection. They may have developed a belief that they must always strive for excellence to feel worthy. Okay, somebody can relate to that. This belief, I'm talking too fast. This belief becomes a part of their identity, basically. Right? So, how these beliefs show up in trade? These beliefs don't disappear in adulthood. They manifest in a variety of ways, right? The perfectionist part might demand flawless execution and no mistakes, leading to overanalyzing trades and missing opportunities, beating yourself up over losses. Okay, and this is the thing, all of us have parts of this in us, like, because we all the same. So to an extent, everybody might have a perfectionist part, but somebody might deal with that extensively, like more than somebody else, because of how they played a part in their life and experiences, right? So again, we all going to experience this to some level, but it's going to be different based off the person, right? So I done dealt with this at times, over analyzing trades, right? But for different reasons, not because I'm a perfectionist, but because I have ADHD, and I just had this thing where I just have to be overly detailed to make sure I get it, right? And that has slowed me down in trade. It's to the point where it's like I have a detailed plan, but can I execute on it? Or are you brain overloads? You know, like, so it's a lot of stuff and a lot of things that you think are helpful that really aren't helpful in trade. Right, and that's what you need to understand. Not saying that it's not helpful altogether, but it's not helpful in trading. You need to be aware of that, right? So, the emotional charge behind these beliefs. Okay, so some beliefs are emotionally charged because they're tied to our identity, right? For the perfectionist, that belief might be, if I'm not perfect, I'm not worthy. Trading challenges this belief because markets are inherently imperfect and uncontrollable, right? You got to resolve these beliefs. You got to do deep work off the charts. And I know y'all done heard that. I know y'all done heard that before. Growth comes off the charts. The most growth, like the most momentum you going to get is when you coming back off of doing some deep work off the charts. Some self-realization, some self-discovery. Now you got a better mental clarity. You can execute better. I promise you, basically. Right? Okay. Awareness. Recognize the belief and how it shows up in your trading. Ask yourself, why do I feel the need to be perfect? Reflection. Think about how this belief formed and how it served you in the past. Okay. Challenge the belief. Question whether it still serves you. Okay. Does striving for perfection help me in trading, or does it hinder me? Seek resolution. This could involve talking to those involved in forming the belief. Your parents. And if you can't do that, right, because it's not nobody you can talk to, really, then you need to work on just detaching from the belief. And how do you do that? Acknowledging all parts of yourself, right? Like I said earlier, we all have many parts. Perfectionists, fearful, greedy, selfish, etc. There's many of them, okay? And they form for different experiences, but not all parts are bad. Context matters. A selfish part might protect you from being taken advantage of. That's good. A fearful part might alert you to genuine risk. That's also good. So again, the goal is not to eliminate these parts, but to understand them and integrate them in a way that serves your growth, right? Ask yourself, bro, just dig deep. For real, like, and do this outside of trading too. Like, earlier, when I was talking about the A game, also do that just in every sense of your life, man. Like, just be aware. Just do create different type of templates, because that's all this is, essentially a template. Do this, a guide. This is a guide on how you can stay aware. And there's multiple actionable steps. You can create your own steps, bro. It's going to be points where you got to write the stuff down. Like, that's what it started off for me. Write it down. Why? Okay, I'm a perfectionist. Why is this part here? Why does this part exist? And then just write down, like, basically think from that part that is a perfectionist, because we have different parts. We all kind of bit bipolar. If you think about it, we all kind of bipolar, but we make fun of people all bipolar, right? But to an extent, we all bipolar. We just more balanced with it, okay? Versus a person who actually got bipolar disorder. Okay, not to make fun of that, but basically we all have different parts, is what I'm saying. So think from the part of you that's a perfectionist. Like, literally think from that part of you, and then ask that part questions and answer them from, like, the part of you that's a perfectionist, because you're not always a perfectionist. You're not always fearful. So you need to put yourself in that state of mind so that the responses that you get are truthful too. That really matters. That's why I say it's not no quick thing, or I'm just gonna write this down. No, you gotta dig deep. This is what I was doing all last year, bro. In different variety of ways. Journaling, myself journaling outside of trade, journaling in trade, just understanding myself, becoming more aware, improving my emotional intelligence. That's what I was doing all last year. I didn't focus heavily on trade. Right now it's about execution, but this is what I'm saying is so important, because I did take a full year off, literally, or damn near a full year off, focusing on my mental. And that's important. People don't do that. They don't think that you should do that, but you should. It's going to make all the difference long term. I'm telling you, when you come back after that mental clarity, you're going to have exponential growth. I promise you. Promise you. All right. How this works: transform your trade. By resolving emotionally charged beliefs, you free yourself from patterns of self-sabotage. You gain clarity, allowing you to trade with discipline and focus, unburdened by these things that were once holding you back, these limiting beliefs. This deep work creates a mental A-game where you align with your trading goals and you are no longer driven by unconscious reactions, right? Practical exercise, reflecting on your parts and beliefs. Identify a recurring challenge in your trade. Fear of taking losses, chasing trades, overanalyze, and ask, why do you do this? Why do you overanalyze? Because you want control? Is that why? Ask yourself. Get deep. Chasing trades. Why do you chase trades? Because you think that you're going to miss opportunity? Do you think that there are only a limited amount of choices in the market, or opportunities, I should say, in the market? Right? Fear of taking losses. Why are you so fearful of taking losses? Do you not understand that that's a natural part of it? Right? Ask yourself, why? What is the belief behind the behavior? When did it first feel, when did I first feel the need to act this way? Write down how this belief served you in the past, how it limits you now, right? Fear of taking losses could have served you in the past. Okay, it might have protected you, man. I sure saved myself from getting into that crypto because that shit dropped off. But then also think about other times where fear held you back, where you would have seen some new growth in your life, right? Or you would have got some newfound excitement. But you let fear hold you back. I'm gonna tell you, I'll tell y'all an example of where fear could have held me back, because it's all basically fear. This is kind of fear too. Chasing trades kind of leaks over into fear because you're fearful that you're gonna miss an opportunity, right? Okay, so it's like all of them kind of go into similar ones. It's foundational emotions, but they all seep out, and it causes ripple effects basically. And the side effect happens in a multitude of ways, basically. So, fear of taking losses. I was fearful. Fearful of driving trucks. Okay? Fearful of just being uncomfortable and changing what I was used to. But what was on the other side of that was growth in my life. That was what was on the other side of that. If I would have not taken that leap of faith, okay, took a 34-hour bus ride from Memphis, Tennessee to Phoenix, Arizona, and then I had to come back to Memphis, Tennessee because I had some shit going on. But when I came back, I could have chose to stay there, and I could have been like, fuck it, I ain't gonna go back. But I went back again, took another bus ride back again, and then stayed in school for 2 months. Did the whole 9 yards, bro. But fear started to diminish. You know what I'm saying? Fear was the most apparent before I even made the first bus ride. Literally, it was easier to make that second bus ride because I had already did some of it. I had already did some of the process. So I was like, okay, go back and do this. Okay. Some of the fear had already started to diminish. And by the time I was finishing and I was graduating truck driving school, I had no fear of what I was doing. I mean, I had a little bit, okay, I'm going to go on the road. Because it do replace, and that's the thing. Fear never goes away. It's just something else takes the place of it based off of where you at in life. But you still got to understand that key concept. That's emotions. And it's going to hold you back. At times, it will help you, and it will serve you. Because it's a survival trait. That's what it is. But at times, it's going to hold you back. Right? So what I'm saying is, okay, the fear, eventually, I'm going to go on the road. And I'm going to have to drive on the road. I hope I won't drive and crash or do none of this, right? I did it long enough that the shit became like driving a car, right? And you still got to have a respect for it, which I kind of didn't. But the point I'm trying to make, though, is the fear was overcame. It was overcame, basically. The more you dealt with it. And that's the whole point. Deal with it. The perfectionist might not even want to approach his parents because he don't want to deal with that fear. He like, what? Trading ain't got nothing to do with that. Trading ain't got nothing to do with that. It got to do with this. I need to just learn this win rate. No. He don't want to do that because he don't think he don't think that trading, becoming successful at trading has anything to do with that. But also, it's a deflection tactic because he really don't want to face the issue. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say it's not going to be easy at times. but you gotta make yourself get uncomfortable. What's on the other side of being uncomfortable? Becoming comfortable eventually. My friend said some shit on Facebook a while back. It was a status, and he basically was just like, imagine becoming like comfortable being uncomfortable. Just imagine this shit. You gon' fucking dust everybody. And that's not to say that it's a race against anybody. It's a race against yourself. It's a race to be the best version of you that you could possibly be. But just think about that. If you can become comfortable being uncomfortable, you gonna conquer life. I promise you. People don't go to the gym, they don't get up because I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to get out of bed this morning. I don't want to do this. I don't do this because I want to remain comfortable. I want to remain in my comfort zone. But growth don't happen in the comfort zone. Okay? And that's my point. That's the same with trade. People gravitate to IQ because that's comfortable. Okay? It's comfortable. All I gotta do is back test, and then these back test results gonna tell me that I win. I mean, yeah, technically. But can you perform on them? Because that's another part of it. But you always gonna revert back to what's comfortable. Why am I saying this? Because I know. I'm a person who done back tested over 3,000 times. I might not even had to back test as many times. I did. I know now that I didn't have to, but what I realized is like, okay, I can back test as much as I want. The true confidence don't really come until you start to do that shit real time. That's when everything changes. Back testing don't matter no more. Everything is about live execution. I'm past this stage. Now for you, you might be in the stage of back testing matters, but it's gonna come a point where it doesn't. Because you gonna know enough. And it's all about, can you execute? Because there's a lot of people in this world who know a lot of shit. That's why you hear everybody telling you opinions and what they think you should do, but it's not a lot of people who actually do it. And that's how I'm gonna end the video. Catch y'all in the next. Peace.